My wedding dress was 4 sizes too small. Literal unhinged wedding stories that people have said to me on a whim ever since I've gotten engaged. He totally butchered it during our wedding entrance in front of 250 guests. I hope I'm not gonna be so stressed that I miss one of my beauty appointments. The day of the wedding, 4 p.m. rolled around, but the caterer still hadn't arrived. Divorced 6 months later. Welcome to Wedding Wednesday, the podcast that's about to spill all the tea on what it's like to plan a wedding from the bride's perspective, and all the details no one talks about. I'm creating the podcast I need to keep me sane and feeling less alone as I plan my own wedding. We're diving deep into the hilarious, messy, and sometimes crazy world of wedding planning and wedding horror stories. Get ready to laugh, cry, and maybe feel a little less alone in this wedding planning madness. Hello, welcome back to Wedding Wednesday. My name is Adriana, and today's episode, I'm gonna share the latest cool Pinterest finds all about florals and wedding bouquets. I'm also gonna share some literal unhinged wedding stories that people have said to me on a whim ever since I've gotten engaged. And in the end, we'll also close off with a few Reddit stories and actually a listener story as well. So with that, let's dive into our episode. So cool Pinterest finds that I have been absolutely loving lately have been around the bouquets. I've been pinning a bunch of bouquets, trying to think about what I wanted to do for my own bouquet. And there are 3 styles in particular that I wanted to share with you today. The first style is literally a beautiful bouquet of white peonies with a little bit of eucalyptus and a little bit of blue in it. What I loved about the peonies is that not only they're beautiful in white, these ones in particular, which makes it very bridal, but they're kind of closed, which I find some of them are a bit closed, some of them are a bit more open. And I just find them to be really elegant and really chic and simple, but also to be very bridal at the same time. It's not like a big bouquet full of different types of flowers. Nothing wrong with that, but I like the simplicity of the peony bouquet. The thing with the peonies is they're seasonal. So if your wedding is not around the time that the peonies are in bloom or even in season or about to bloom, you won't be able to necessarily have them for your wedding. But you could always do a fake floral and see if your, local fake florist has some fake peonies if you absolutely love this bouquet. I also really like how it's very round. It's a very round bouquet. I don't know, something about this bouquet I just thought was super elegant and I wanted to share it with you today. The second kind of bouquet that I've seen on Pinterest is one full of colors, super colorful, totally opposite from the white peonies. And what I love about the colorful bouquet is that it adds that pop of color that you often don't necessarily see in a wedding. It makes it a little bit different than, just a typical white bouquet and can really add to your overall look, especially if you choose to wear white on your wedding day, or you're going to be wearing, a beautiful white dress, if that's what you choose, and you have a pop of color to contrast with your dress. I think it can really stand out and can really be something different to do for your wedding compared to, what most people do, which is a beautiful white bouquet. So colorful bouquet, something to think about. I thought it was very unique, especially the colors in this bouquet particularly. They're almost a bit like a rainbow, more like the pastel shades. And it's something that you could consider for your bouquet if you love a pop of color for your wedding. The last kind of bouquet that I wanted to share with you that I thought was also really cool is actually doing no bouquet at all. I don't hate this idea. This big bachelor girl turned influencer, her name is Hannah something. She did no bouquet at her wedding in Italy, and it was quite controversial, but I thought was so cool. Like, why do you have to have a bouquet? You don't. If you choose that you prefer to have your hand, one arm on your dad's, one arm locked with your dad, and then one arm on the side of your dress, I think that could be so nice. It also removes the cost of having a bouquet. A lot of bouquets are around like the $300 mark, at least where I live. And so you could save quite a bit of money if you choose not to do a bouquet. So also something to consider if you are a bride that's more daring and willing to stray away from the traditions of floral bouquets in general. All right, I have to share these unhinged wedding stories with you that people in my life, my personal life, have come to me and have said. I have about 10 of these to share with you. That's how many people have had crazy stories happen to them. They're not long at all. It's just been things that the people have kind of like dropped on a whim while I'm just like talking about what I'm doing for my wedding and have like taken me aback. So I thought I'd share them with you today here. So the first one was, I wish I had made sure the DJ knew how to say mine and my parents' last name. He totally butchered it during our wedding entrance in front of 250 guests. Could you imagine that like all of your guests are there and the DJ butchers your last name? So that's a good tip for any brides who are talking to their DJ right now. Make sure they know how to say your name. At my cousin's wedding, an entire table of guests on the groom's side didn't like where they were sitting. They were sitting near the kitchen and got up and left the reception with their gifts right at the start of the evening. People have said these things and I was like, some of these things I'm just like, I can't believe that people are getting up at the start of a reception because they don't like where they're sitting, or that they didn't tell the DJ how to say their last name. So many crazy things. But I guess it's easy to get lost in the wedding planning of it all. Like there's so many tasks that you have to do. Like there's literally, I calculated there's about 200 tasks that you have to do to plan a wedding. So, forgetting to tell the DJ how to pronounce your last name, I guess could be a thing, or making sure that a certain type of people are not sitting next to the kitchen could easily, slip through the cracks. But anyways, I digress. 3. When I was getting married, ivy in large cascading bouquets was all the rage. Well, my future mother-in-law at the time thought ivy was bad luck for a wedding. How could I have known that? It did not go over well with my fiance's mom that I was planning to have ivy in my bouquet, and I was annoyed. I didn't want to take it out. But when I understood how much it meant to her, I removed it from my order with the florist, and she cried tears of joy. Not even kidding. People get hung up on the funniest things sometimes. 4. One time, a bride missed her lash appointment 2 days before her wedding because she was too stressed. She ended up forcing me to reschedule to the day of her wedding. Typically, I don't move around my schedule like that, but I made it work for this one time. She ended up having beautiful lashes for her special day. That's crazy. Like, I hope I'm not going to be so stressed that I miss one of my beauty appointments. But that's one reason why we chose to get married so far. Yes, we wanted to save money for our wedding. That was one reason, but like that was another reason, is that it gave us time to plan and not have everything kind of back to back closer to the wedding. That was so stressful. So that was like to the point where it was so stressful that we couldn't like manage anything. So I'm hoping that by the week of my wedding comes, I am not stressed and I can go to my appointments and not worry about it. We shall see. If there's any brides who were super stressed the week of their wedding, let us know what you would have done differently in the comments looking back. 5. One time, a couple decided to book our venue and serve outside catering instead of our food. This was a guy who told us a story when we went to see his venue, okay? The day of the wedding, 4 p.m. rolled around, but the caterer still hadn't arrived. The hours went on and on and on with no sign of the caterer coming. The guests started to arrive around 5 o'clock and were getting really hungry. After about 4 hours with no served food, half the guests ended up leaving the reception. The bride and groom were in tears. Turns out the catering truck fell over on the highway on the way to the reception and all the food was spoiled. The venue ended up serving the food of the next night's wedding to the remaining guests. It was a disaster. Needless to say, because we had heard at this venue that the food wasn't so good, so we asked if we could have it catered, and then he proceeded to tell us this story. So he said, you can, but it's not always the best idea. This is when a wedding planner would be super helpful. Like if you have a situation like this, I think the wedding planner would have figured that out way more like early than 4 hours in. So food for thought there. 6. One time I got invited to a bridal shower and not the wedding. I didn't understand what was up with that. Has this happened to anybody like listening? Have you been invited to the bridal shower and not the wedding? If so, how did you feel about it? I want to know. And did you go in the end or not? Tell me in the comments. I would love to know. 7. At a friend's wedding, his uncle had a heart attack at the reception and our friend's new wife practically threw 2 chairs in anger. They divorced 6 months later. I forgot about this one. Oh my God. That's crazy. I mean, if your wife is mad about one of your family members having a heart attack, definitely a red flag. Definitely a red flag. 8. At my wedding, everyone left to go to the church and forgot to organize a ride for my mom. She was the mother of the bride. Luckily, she still made it to the church on time. Oh my God. How unhinged. Could you imagine you forget to organize a ride for your mom? That's like a note to self. Make sure you organize transportation for everybody that's close to you in your life, your immediate family, your bridal party, of course, as well. 9, at our wedding, our photographer messed up a roll of film on my mom's side of the family, so we have no pictures of our day with my side of the family. That's sad. And there's nothing you can do about that, but it does happen. 10, my friend's future mother-in-law is adamant on doing 4 dress changes at their wedding. She's not even paying for the wedding. Guys, if you're a mother of a bride or a groom or whoever, do not ask to do 4 dress changes. It's not appropriate. I think the only person who could do a dress change are the newlyweds. That's it. But that's my take on it. Let me know if this happened to at your wedding, if your mother-in-law wanted to have multiple dress changes, or if you've seen it happen at somebody else's wedding. Those are all my unhinged stories for you. I put together 3 bridal shower game ideas that are different, that I've seen myself, that I think you should consider for your bridal shower, so that you're not always playing the same typical games. So food for thought, these are just 3 ideas for you. That's all I could think of. Unfortunately, I wanted to think of more, but I can only think of 3. So here they are. Number 1, one time I played a DIY dress challenge at a bridal shower, and it was so much fun. It took up about 45 minutes or so. We were broken out in teams of about 5 girls, give or take, and it ended up having a total of around six teams. Each team had to design a wedding gown with a tablecloth. So we could cut it up how we wanted, we could glue it how we wanted, we could staple it how we wanted, and then we had to choose one of the girls in our team to model it to the bride. And then at the end, the bride judged which dress she liked the most, and then she ranked the top 3, and everybody had a prize from the top 3 dresses. It was really fun. The modeling of it all was really fun, or watching. I wasn't the model, but whoever modeled in our team, she did a great job. And what was really cool was that some of the girls did little presentations too. So one of the teams had a Bridgerton presentation where they read the Bridgerton style text, if you will, and it was part of presenting the dress. Really fun game, really creative, and people get into it. So that could be a really fun bridal shower game that you incorporate at your bridal shower, or if you're watching and you're inside of a bridal party and you like to suggest a game, this is a really, really fun one that I recommend for you. Another one that I've seen at the same bridal shower, you know who you are, the bride whose bridal shower this is. You had some fire games. So shout out to your sister actually for that. The groom scratcher is really fun. So you give it kind of like a bingo, if you will, and whoever scratches the groom's face gets a prize. It's fun. It's cute. It keeps people entertained, and it's something to do. Lastly, the last thing that I've never seen at a bridal shower, but I think would be really cool, is choosing an activity as the bridal shower theme. So you could obviously do food, and then you could do just one activity where you don't do multiple games. You're just doing one activity. So example, you could do a scrapbooking activity. You can do a painting mugs activity. You could do a brunch and sip activity, brunch and paint. Sorry, I was thinking sip and paint, but brunch and paint activity would be really fun. I don't know, but just doing an activity like that all together is really a cool concept too. It takes up more time. So it takes up 3 hours, plus you get to eat, which would make up probably the entirety of your bridal shower. And if you're somebody who likes something more low key like that, this could be a great option for you too. Those are all of my bridal shower game ideas. If you think of other ones or you've played other ones, I would love to hear about them in the comments, because I'm always looking for new ideas. I'm going to be going to bridal showers in the future. I'm going to have my own, so I'm always looking for new inspiration. And I'm sure every person watching this too who is getting married would be interested in hearing more too. So if you have any new games, put them in the comments below. We had a listener question also be submitted, so I wanted to answer it in today's episode. This is what she had to say. Just got up on all the episodes and ran back to my email to find all the info and join the WhatsApp group. PSA. So first of all, thank you to the person who sent this question in. First of all. Second of all, we have a private group of brides. I will put in the description box below if you would like to join our private group. We lean on each other. We ask questions to each other. This is a group where you have to be engaged, in all sense of the word. A, you have to be bride to be, but B, you also have to participate. and give your opinion, ask questions. And so if that feels like a right fit for you and you need a support group, feel free to join our group. I'll put it in the description box below. So to go back to the question, here's my current dilemma. My best friend, love her, but boy, is she a lot. Two-part problem. One, I haven't asked anyone to be in my bridal party yet. My sis knows she's the maid of honor. My best friend may be assuming she is matron of honor. She's already salty that I'm already planning and she's not been at all the things. And two, we decided we want an adults-only reception. Of all the people being invited to our wedding, only my best friend has young children, one of which is my godson. While I would love to have him at my wedding as a ring bearer, how do I say in the nicest way possible he can be in the ceremony, but someone needs to come get him before the reception? Or do I just make everything child-free? Would love your thoughts. Big problem. I'm going to start with part 2. I think it's easier to answer. So my thoughts on part 2 here, where it's adults only, but you want your godson to be ring bearer. I think if you're going to have your godson being ring bearer, he has to be invited to the reception. I think it's an all or nothing thing, personally. So if you really don't want children, then I would eliminate the ring bearer, and then it's a much easier conversation. Something else you can consider is having him as your ring bearer, obviously having him come to the reception, but hiring somebody to babysit that child during the reception so that the parents can enjoy your wedding reception too. That's my thought on number 2. I think it's the easiest way to not ruffle all the feathers and get what you want. But it's hard to say you can only do part of it and not the other. Like I don't think it's appropriate for you to say, please can my godson be the ring bearer, but not come to the reception. It's very touchy. The mother might choose to have her son get picked up after. That's great. In that case, it would work out perfectly. But because the ball is in your court with this, I would just either do all or nothing. So he either comes to all the wedding or he doesn't come at all. Personally, I don't have a ring bearer or a flower girl. So because I want it to be child-free, and I chose that option to have the conversation be child-free and like make the conversation much more easy about the whole wedding being child-free. So do with that what you will. First part of the question is assumptions, right? She's assuming she's matron of honor. She's already salty that I'm already planning, and she's not been at all the things. This is really hard because your friends sometimes do assume things. Not everybody, but some of your friends sometimes assume things. So it's definitely hard to navigate this. But really, communication is key. Like, you have to sit her down and have a conversation with her. I would ask her assumptions and her expectations first and foremost. What are her expectations in terms of being involved? If you're choosing to do no bridal party and just a maid of honor, it's easier conversation to have with your best friend about how you're just doing your sister as maid of honor and nobody else. If you're thinking of having bridesmaids and her issue is that she's not maid of honor, she's a bridesmaid, you can sit her down and say to her, like, for you, it was really important that that your witness and your wedding be related to you. And it's not to say that you don't value her friendship, but that's why you chose your sister as maid of honor. You could tell her that, and then explain to her that she'll be involved in all the other things. So first, I would ask, what is she doing? What are her expectations? Sorry. First, I would ask, what are her expectations? Then I would have her be very clear on what you're planning on involving her in. And lastly, I would explain to her how family for you is really important, and that's why she's not matron of honor, and that you chose your sister to be maid of honor. At the forefront of all this, though, you have to sit her down and have a conversation. And they're icky conversations sometimes, and sometimes people aren't emotionally mature enough to receive these conversations. I get that can be challenging, but that is your best chance of navigating through this situation, is through discussing it and hearing her out. And hopefully she will hear you out and you can both come to a conclusion together. That's my advice to you. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have more questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them too. We have a really crazy wedding dress listener story that was submitted a few weeks ago that I wanted to share with you today. So it goes like this. My wedding dress was 4 sizes too small. My wedding is in May 2025. We spent a few weekends in September and October shopping for wedding dresses, and I fell in love with one in Toronto while visiting family over Thanksgiving. The store wasn't able to ship the dress directly to me as I live in Montreal, so my aunt who lives in Toronto agreed to ship it to me once the store got it in. The store was also totally on board with me doing it, and the consultant told me that my dress wouldn't need many alterations as my bust was measured to fit perfectly, so the dress would basically only need to be hemmed. I placed the order for the dress in November, and they told me it would arrive at the end of February. End of February rolls around and they don't have it yet and assure me it'll arrive the first week of March. No big deal, it was easy to reschedule my appointment with my seamstress. The dress arrives, my aunt from Toronto picks it up and ships it to me. I had opened the garment bag and it looked just how I remembered. I was excited. I took it to the seamstress a couple days after receiving it, and my mom and sister came with me. I go into the changing room to put it on for the seamstress, and I only partly zipped it up the back because I couldn't reach the whole zipper. I open the curtain and my mom goes to help me zip it up until she can't. My mom, sister, and seamstress all gasp as they realize the dress was way too small. It looked about 4 sizes too small. There was no way they could zip it and nothing that could be done. I take it off devastated and stressed as my wedding is 2 months away. Right away, I call and email the shop in Toronto. They respond to me very quickly, even though it was 8 p.m. at night, and I get a call from the consultant who sold me the dress. She said there isn't much they'll be able to do to help me, but offered me to pay $100 to pay a seamstress to put a corset in the back of the dress. The dress was way too small to add a corset and would have looked ridiculous, but this consultant thought it was a good idea even after seeing a picture of how small the back was. After arguing with the consultant back and forth for about 15 minutes, she agrees to contact their head office in the morning to see if they would make an exception to their no refund policy. The consultant tried to blame the fact of the dress did not fit on the fact that I lived in Montreal and was not in Toronto to pick it up and try it on prior to taking it home. BS, because the consultant was on board for me to purchase it knowing I lived in Montreal. The consultant also advised me that they would not be able to get another dress in time and told me she would reach out to other stores and see if they had a floor model in the correct size. I got an update from the consultant the next day. She told me they were now willing to offer $150 to add a corset to the back of the dress. I still thought this was ridiculous, as of course it would not work given how small the dress was. She found a floor model in stock in the right size from their store in Toronto, but it had some serious damage to it, including a rip in the front. Not to mention that they were only able to offer me 25% off for the floor model. The floor model wouldn't work for me because of how large the rip was. I'm pretty tall, and they would have had to take at least a foot off of the hem of the dress to cover up the rip, which wouldn't have worked given my height. Later that day, the consultant lets me know that their head office has agreed to fully refund me as long as I shipped the dress back. She also implied that I must have gained weight since first trying the dress on for it not to fit, while since I hadn't gained a single pound. What is it with these people in the wedding industry implying about weight gain? Does anybody have other crazy stories about this? I want to hear. I called in sick to work that day to deal with my little crisis. I emailed and called multiple dress stores around to see if they had the same dress in stock. None did. At 1 p.m., I was able to get an appointment for 3:30 p.m. that day at a dress store I initially wanted to go to, but wasn't able to get an appointment at. We go to the appointment, explain my situation to the sweetest consultant, who also happened to be the owner. She was willing to sell me any of the floor models in her store. We found a beautiful dress, even better than the original dress, and the owner gave us an amazing deal on it since it was the floor model. Even though it was a floor model, it's in perfect condition. Alterations on the dress are happening as we speak. I go back for my first fitting in 2 weeks and should have the dress home by the beginning of April. Shout out to Bouquet 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 in Montreal. From the time I tried on the original dress of the seamstress to the time I found a new dress and mailed the original back, it was less than 24 hours. Everything happens for a reason, and this dress was truly meant to be. That is so sweet that it ended so well. I'm really happy for this bride that she was able to find her dream dress in such a short timeline, but I could imagine how stressful it was to get to have to get a new dress so close to her wedding. So thank you for submitting in that story. If you have any other crazy horror story that you would like us to read on the pod, feel free to email it at hello@weddingwednesdaypod.com. We'll be happy to share it here on the pod too. Of course, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things because it really does help our podcast grow. And with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.